Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners, to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. It's a Monday edition of the show, a new week of Bucs football. Hope everybody enjoyed their weekend, maybe enjoyed the Bucs having a bye, letting everybody recalibrate as we watched the rest of the NFL, but not the Buccaneers. But there was still a lot of news that came from the Bucs, both later in the week and even today, with the news about Mike Edwards returning to the Buccaneers. This actually happened right as we were closing out the show on Thursday's edition of the Pewter Report podcast. So we'll dive into it a lot more today, talk some Jamel Dean as well, and what's ahead for your Buccaneers. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow co-host and the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, good to have you on. What's happening?
It's great to have Mike Edwards back too. I think people were excited to see Mike back. They're hoping Mike Evans comes back too. That would be even better, right? Jamel Dean was activated from he's given the practice squad, or not practice squad, the injured reserve window. The 21-day window is open, and he had a press conference today and said he's ready to go. He feels good and feels up to playing. The anticipation is that he will, in fact, be available and start on Sunday, barring any unforeseen things in practice this week. And the hope is Mike Evans will be there as well. But Mike Edwards is back, and that, that might be a sign that this team is growing a little impatient with Jordan Whitehead, right? I mean, and it's funny because go back to the Super Bowl year in 2020, those two guys platooned at the strong safety position. Whitehead was kind of taken off the field on those obvious passing downs. And then you had the better coverage safety, which was Mike Edwards, go in on those passing downs because he's more of a ball hawk. And the thing with Whitehead too is he was ticked off when he was not on the field for that big play, the dagger, if you will.
Yep.
The Cooper Kupp 44-yard pass, whatever it was, to get the Rams into position to win that game and end the Buccaneers' hopes of repeating as Super Bowl champions in 2021. And that kind of led him off to go to the New York Jets, where he could play and be an every down safety. But I think right now what we've seen is just too many coverage busts by Jordan Whitehead, who seemed to be getting better in coverage when he was with the Jets, playing a lot of cover 4 back there. But hopefully Mike Edwards can be a spark for this team. That's what he wants to be, coming back and making some plays. And for a Bucs defense that has not picked off a pass since week 6 at New Orleans, Matt. And here are the touchdown numbers from opposing quarterbacks since week 6, since we saw the likes of Tyke Smith pick off Spencer Rattler in that big 51 to 27 was the final score of that Saints game. Yeah, it's been nothing but touchdowns on this Bucs defense. 5 touchdowns from Lamar Jackson, 4 touchdowns from Kirk Cousins, 3 touchdowns from this is like a countdown here, from Pat Mahomes, 2 touchdowns from Brock Purdy, and you add all that up, that's 14 touchdowns allowed by this Bucs defense over the last 4 losses. And Matt, no interceptions.
Yeah, no interceptions since Jamel Dean last played as well, because he got injured in that game against the Saints. But it's exciting to have Mike Edwards back. At this point of the season, a lot of the times, there's not too many additions that you can make to your team. It's kind of like you have the roster that you have, and then, you're relying on your backups or maybe a practice squad guy if there's other injuries. But the Mike Edwards case is very interesting because it hasn't been that long since he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember, he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, won a Super Bowl, but he was there on a 1-year deal. And then he went to the Buffalo Bills and really just wasn't getting playing time. And that's why he asked for his release. And that's kind of what he mentioned today. He's like, I just want to get film on tape, which is why he went to Tennessee, but it didn't work out there either. But he's a guy that just wants to play. And there are some defensive backs where the ball just gravitates towards them. And Mike Edwards is that guy for whatever reason. So it will
Yeah.
be interesting to see how he was used, because even when he was with the Bucs and won a Super Bowl with them, it wasn't like he was on the field for every single play. But with that said, with the amount of lack of turnovers that the Bucs have, specifically with interceptions, hopefully this can be the spark that Tampa Bay is looking for. I mean, who among us could forget the time where Mike Edwards had back-to-back pick sixes in a matter of 4 minutes in the fourth quarter in a game against the Falcons in 2021. He's had career pick sixes with the Bucs. He had a scoop and score with the Chiefs. He also had an interception with the Bucs in the postseason and had an interception with the Chiefs as well in that 2023 season. So he's a guy that is a playmaker and is desperately needed. So if that means platooning Jordan Whitehead, fine, whatever. They need some answers, because there's been no answer to this Bucs defense. So, you got to put feelings and egos to the side. It's about winning football games. And with the Falcons losing yesterday, the door opens just a little bit more for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, it does. And the interesting thing, too, and as Arnie Diaz says here, how do you think they will integrate Edwards? Do you smell more dime packages coming to shore up the pass defense on third and long? That very well could be. It could be a situation where you've got Jordan Whitehead and Mike Edwards platooning at the strong safety position. It also, Matt, might be part of the solve to the problem that has been the inside linebacker position on third downs and obvious passing situations. It's okay if Vi Jones isn't ready, if JJ Russell's not the answer, then let's sub KJ Britt off the field and put another safety on the field. The problem, what has been the problem, Matt? We've talked about it. We've encouraged the Buccaneers to go to a dime defense, and it's always been, well, Winfield isn't playing this week. He's back, but now Tyke Smith is out, right? They haven't had that full collection of safeties, and I think this team doesn't really trust Kayvon Merriweather to play any type of coverage, and look no further than that Falcons game when he gave up a touchdown on his only defensive snap to Kyle Pitts as reason why. So now you've got a situation where if Tyke Smith is back, and the anticipation is that he will be, you've got Jamel Dean back, you've got Zion McCollum, the other corner there, you've got Winfield, you've got Whitehead, and now you can sub in a Mike Edwards to play safety and maybe replace KJ Britt with the guy who's really good in the box, but not so great down the field, and that's Jordan Whitehead, right? So maybe you essentially swap out KJ Britt for Mike Edwards personnel wise, and Edwards plays that other deeper safety with Winfield, and then that allows Jordan Whitehead to play in the box where KJ Britt was playing and trying to cover tight ends on crossing routes, backs out of the backfield, etc. Now you've got a faster, better coverage guy doing probably what he's better apt and equipped to do, which is cover underneath stuff rather than passes down the field.
Yeah, going to dime was one of the things I actually wrote about when putting up the article on PeterReport.com about Mike Edwards coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if KJ Britt is your number one weakness, which in my opinion he is on the defense, well, the best course of action is just getting him off of the field, and bringing in Edwards as well gives you a little bit of leeway because he has played in the slot before. So if Tyke Smith is out, the fact that you have Christian Izzy in as well, it lets Todd Bowles pivot a little bit if Smith is injured or something happens to Whitehead or Winfield, where you could put Edwards in one slot and then still use Christian Izzy in, or if Smith is out, put Edwards in one place and Izzy in another. So it helps them just a little bit more, which is important. And in a sense, the Bucs are going not crazy old school, but old school to that championship winning defense of, hey, this is what Jordan Whitehead still does best, is stopping the run and being physical. Let's face it, the run game, the run stopping defense has been okay this year, but it's certainly not the run stopping defense it was in the heyday of 2020 and 2021. So why not try to combat that a little bit, especially with some of the opponents coming up? We know Dave Canales loves to run the football. I don't think the Giants are going to be, asking Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito to throw it 55 times in a game. They're going to try to establish the run. Why not let Jordan Whitehead do what he does best? Even if Jordan Whitehead is going to have to do it kicking and screaming, as he says, oh, I'm still a cover guy, fine. So be it. So, again, it's just bringing in another chess piece, letting Todd Bowles kind of pivot and do different things. And, it's in Edwards' hands, but, of course, it's in Todd Bowles' hands as well, because if they continue to struggle, I don't think Edwards is like a savior by any means, but he's another piece and another trustworthy guy. And I think Bowles trusting some of his players has kind of come back to bite him a little bit.
I think you're exactly right. And the other thing too is we probably should get to some of the news topics of the day and how it pertains to the Buccaneers. As Shaggy points out, a Pewter Report TV channel member, the Falcons lose, Bucs don't. Victory Monday. It kind of is, right, Matt? We've talked about this. The Buccaneers 2 games behind the Atlanta Falcons, 3 when you include that tiebreaker, right? They made up some ground now with Atlanta losing back-to-back games now. And I wrote about this in the Bucs mailbag this morning. You look at the schedule for the Atlanta Falcons, and now they've got, out of the remaining 6 games, the Falcons have a bye week coming up this week, whereas Tampa Bay comes off the bye and will play the New York Giants on Wednesday or on Sunday. We will have a preview show Wednesday. We're calling it a must-win game alert. That's right. We're there, folks. This is must-win game time for the Buccaneers. We'll have our Bucs at Giants preview, and that's going to be on Wednesday's show, as we always do, at 4 o'clock here on Pewter Report TV. Make sure you tune in. Matt and I will be breaking down everything as it pertains to the Giants. But one of the interesting things that the Giants did is they had a bye week as well, and they have replaced Daniel Jones, the $40 million man at quarterback. They have demoted him not to the backup spot. That's Drew Lock. They've demoted him to the 3rd string spot, as the Giants are hitting the panic button now after re-signing Daniel Jones to a massively bad contract for a massively bad player. Tommy DeVito, who was 3-3 as a starter last year, throwing 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He did see some action in a total of looks like 8 games, but in the 6 games that he started, he had losses at Dallas and then had a win at Washington, then had another win. In matter of fact, he had 3 back-to-back wins. At Washington, then they beat the New England Patriots at home, the Green Bay Packers, which was probably the signature win of the Giants season last year, 24-22. And then he had 2 more starts, and that was at New Orleans, a 24-6 loss, as well as a loss to Philadelphia in Philly, 33-25, and then he didn't play in the next week against the Rams. But now you've got a situation where Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cudlitz, is going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, so a couple of things on this. The big win was against the Green Bay Packers for sure. But I think people have to realize, first of all, the reason why they're going, I was surprised that they're going to Tommy DeVito versus Drew Lock, but I guess it makes sense in terms of Drew Lock's here on a 1-year deal. He's not the future of the team. You really see what you have with Tommy DeVito for a longer extension. The reason why that they're benching Daniel Jones is, 1, they can get out of his egregious contract. If they cut him this offseason, they'd have to pay $22 million next year on the salary cap. But after that, they're done, and they can kind of wipe their hands clean of it. But if Daniel Jones gets injured, all of that money becomes guaranteed.
That's right.
So it becomes, it's completely, a safety insurance type of thing for the Giants to just bench Daniel Jones. That's why he's quarterback 3 at this time. Now, Tommy DeVito, getting back to him, he doesn't have a strong arm. He's not really going to slice and dice you. He is athletic, and he can run. But it is important to remember, when the Giants went on that winning streak, they had Saquon Barkley, and they leaned very, very heavy on Saquon Barkley. DeVito didn't turn the ball over too much. The infamous game was against the Packers. It became a frenzy. He's from New Jersey. He's very close to the Giants facility. He's Italian. There's a lot of Sopranos things going on. His agent helped a lot too. But there was only 1 game in his starts where he threw for over 200 yards. So he is not a big-time passer, which I think should help the Bucs overall, who have made quarterbacks look fantastic. And the last thing is, after that 3-game winning streak, and let's face it, the Patriots were terrible last year. Packers was a great win. Their other win, Washington wasn't that good at the time either. When he faced better competition with the Saints, who are, better than like what the Patriots were last year. And the Eagles, who, of course, the Bucs met in the playoffs, better competition is when it really went poor for Tommy DeVito. Now, he's had another year of development, seeing the game, sitting on the bench and all that stuff. We'll see. But this is still a situation where the Bucs can take advantage of it. Does Tommy DeVito provide a spark? Yes. I think the Giants fans will be in it a little bit more now with Tommy DeVito than if Daniel Jones was starting at quarterback. But this is still very much a game that the Bucs should be victorious over the Giants.
Yeah. And if you're the Giants, you're coming off the bye week, and you hope this is a spark for your team, right? A little bit of an igniter situation. And he was 3-3 as a starter, only 26 years old. So they're hoping and praying he might have more of a future with this team than Daniel Jones. And as you mentioned, Matt, I think what he doesn't really do is turn the ball over. 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, right? That's something. The quarterback's job is to win games, but also not to lose games, right? Like, don't get your team killed with mistakes. And you look at Daniel Jones, a big reason why the Giants have the record that they do is 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, right? 2,000 yards passing, completed 63% of his passes. So, that's kind of par for the course for Daniel Jones. He is turnover prone, et cetera. More into the Giants on Wednesday. It's interesting to note, though, as you mentioned, Saquon Barkley was a big part of the Giants offense last year and for the previous years when he wasn't hurt. But now, as good as Bucky Irving has played in Tampa Bay, 492 yards rushing, a 5.1 yard average, 4 rushing touchdowns. He's not the leading rookie rusher. That's actually Tyrone Tracy, the Giants running back, who is a bigger back, 6 foot, 210 pounds, out of Purdue. 545 yards rushing, a 5.1 yard average, just like Bucky Irving. 3 rushing touchdowns, and he's got some wiggle to him. He's got some power. He's got some speed. He's going to be an interesting player for the Buccaneers to keep an eye on. And of course, the Giants also have Malik Neighbors, their starting wide receiver, their first-round pick. He is leading the team in. Sorry about that. He is leading the team in receiving yards, 607, 61 catches, 3 touchdowns. But again, we'll dive more into the Giants as it pertains to our breakdown on Wednesday. We do have roll call coming up on Monday. It's not a victory Monday, but it wasn't a loss yesterday either. The Buccaneers didn't hurt you yesterday, Buccaneer fans. Hopefully they'll stop hurting you because they've been doing so with 4 straight losses for a while. So we'll have roll call in just a minute here. We do have some super chats. Let's get to a couple of these, and maybe 1 or 2, and then we'll stop things for roll call.
Yeah, sure. Bucs Basement, thanks for the $2 super chat, says DeVito going to make cutlets against Bulls defense. So yeah, that's the other worrisome side. And again, we'll talk more about this on Wednesday's show. But Todd Bowles has made average to bad quarterbacks look good / great. Now, they did go up against Spencer Rattler earlier this year, and the 27-point second quarter was just kind of out of control. There was a punt return touchdown. It wasn't Spencer Rattler really taking it to the Bucs defense. With that said, Todd Bowles is also the defensive coordinator when Daniel Jones mounted a big-time comeback in his first career NFL start. That one was in Tampa. So I can see this going a little bit both ways. I am slightly concerned with the Bucs' overall containment on the pass rush. Now, like Jane Daniels, you kind of understand when he goes out and sprints, and Lamar Jackson. But I don't know. I think if the Bucs play a lot of zone, or even if they play some man and they're not looking at the quarterback, DeVito will tuck it and run and maybe get a first down at some crucial moments. We saw Kirk Cousins run for a first down on a crucial third down in Tampa. So that is something just to exactly. So that's just something to keep in mind for Tommy DeVito when he goes up against the Bucs.
Yeah, well, we got something in mind for you all. It's 4:20 on Monday, and we do this just about every single time there's a Monday, whether it's a Victory Monday or not, and it's a little thing we call
Roll Call. That's right. We want to know, where are you at, Pewter people? We have amazing fans all over the world, not just in Tampa, not just in the United States, but internationally as well. So every Monday show, we like to do this at 4:20, where one of us will go on a little conversation about the Buccaneers. And as we are discussing your favorite team, the Bucs, if you want to put in the chat where you are watching the show from, we will put it on the screen, like Nathan Elliott watching from Bradenton, Florida. And we'll put everybody up on the screen, give everyone a shout out, because we love interacting with our Peter people and our fans as much as we possibly can, because you guys are the best. And we'll give some personal shout outs right after. So Scott, whenever you're ready, we'll get this rocking and rolling.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing that they brought Mike Edwards back because he is a ball hawk, and that's something that Tampa Bay really, really needs sooner rather than later. Getting Mike Edwards back is, it's good for a defense that has allowed too many passing touchdowns And of course, he knows Todd Bowles' scheme and system, so this should be a pretty quick, accelerated learning curve. We've seen the Buccaneers when they've needed some players. They went and they brought back Keenan Isaac after Carolina cut him from their practice squad, and he has bounced between the practice squad and the active roster because he knows this scheme. Todd Bowles has been criticized for not. I should say Jason Light has been criticized, probably by Todd Bowles, for not making enough moves to help this team. But they have signed Troy Hill, the cornerback, right? He was formerly with the Carolina Panthers. We've yet to see him, and that's something that with Jamel Dean back, you might not see Troy Hill, but he's at least a veteran guy to where maybe they don't have to rely on Josh Hayes if there's another injury to either Dean or Zion McCollum, or certainly Tyreek Thunderberg. And then you look at the fact too that with Edwards coming back, this team has not had an interception in the last month. And it's crazy because they only have 5 this year, 2 of which are by Zion McCollum. And it's kind of stunning to me that with all of the attention and the lip service paid to getting more interceptions, and Kevin Ross talking about his cornerbacks needing to catch 50 passes a day during the offseason. Well, this is a guy in Edwards that just, as Jamel Dean said today at the press conference, the ball finds him. And that's a good thing because we've talked about how the Buccaneers have needed to really get to +2. Matt and I have said it in the Pewter pregame show, the last 2 games. What have we said? We have said the Bucs need to get to +2 in the turnover margin. They got to win that by 2. And they didn't do it at Kansas City. They were +1. And they didn't do it against the 49ers. They were +1. And so maybe this is a guy that can help you get to that +2, that can end the interception drought. As Matt mentioned, Jamel Dean is back, but he hasn't had an interception in 2 years. Okay. And when you look at Mike Edwards and the production that he's been able to have at the safety position, the pick sixes, right? He's had 8 interceptions in his career, 7 in Tampa, including 3 playoff interceptions, right? If you'll remember, he picked off Drew Brees on his last pass in the NFL in New Orleans to help seal that win in the divisional round of the playoffs. He also has 3 pick sixes, including this one here that was against the Saints during the regular season in 2021. So 8 interceptions during Mike Edwards' time in Tampa. Jamel Dean only has 7 interceptions, and he's been in Tampa longer, okay? And 1 touchdown, including none over the last 2 years. Antoine Winfield Jr. has 7 interceptions in his career, including 1 in the playoffs. We know that he's got more interceptions than Jordan Whitehead does. Whitehead had 4 last year with the Jets, but not many in Tampa. Matter of fact, when you look at his career with the Buccaneers, the number of interceptions that Jordan Whitehead had, he had 1 in 2019, 2 in 2020, 2 in 2021, and then 2 in his first year with the Jets and 4 last year. He has 11 in his career, but only 5 in Tampa. So my point is I hope that Mike Edwards can end the interception drought. And if it's not him getting a pick on Sunday against Tommy DeVito, maybe his return just spurs an interception frenzy by this team. Again, only 5 interceptions. That's really bad, Matt, until you realize that the New York Giants only have 1 interception this entire year. Crazy.
Yeah, it's tough for the Giants when they're losing in a lot of these games. But hey, the Giants beat the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle this year. And Seattle just beat the 49ers yesterday on a late Geno Smith rushing touchdown. So really anything can happen with this Sunday's game. But yes, it is a battle of 2 defenses that have not taken the football away, particularly via the interception. So something's got to give for this game on Sunday. And I will say, while anything can happen, I feel it that anything can happen when I have a Celsius energy drink, which of course is the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. Check out all the great flavors of Celsius that they have. My personal favorite is the Arctic Vibe. Tropical Vibe's great as well. And you can check out some of their new flavors like the sparkling watermelon lemonade too. So if you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, head on over to the Celsius store locator on their website. Punch in your address and it'll tell you the closest place where you can pick one up. Might be a Walmart, a Stop and Shop, a health and fitness store, a 7-Eleven, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And once you keep going to your bodega and you love Celsius and you want more, you can head on over to Amazon, buy it in bulk with the subscribe and save. I don't recommend that variety pack because there's so many great flavors of Celsius, and you can have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com.
Yeah. We always have some great comments. We'll get back to these super chats in just a second here, but like I said, we don't have time to get to and answer every single comment because you guys just flood us with so much great content. But as Matt's talking, I'll scroll and I'll read some of these. Matt does the same thing when I'm talking. Cody Parrish says, please, no practice Friday. For some reason, Friday practices have just been so detrimental. This team loses like a player. Tyke Smith banged knees during a Friday practice and couldn't go on Sunday versus the 49ers. We've seen Jalen McMillan's hamstring flare up. And then he was
Elijah Cansey.
Yeah.
The first week of the season.
Yes.
I've never seen this before. And, whether just a fan of the NFL or covering the Buccaneers, I've never seen so many injuries on a Friday practice, which is the lightest practice. Like today was a walkthrough. Most Fridays are not totally a walkthrough, but not like the 100% run and gun the way that Wednesdays and Thursdays are. It's truly incredible. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Christos Farrow says, we don't have many coverage busts because most of the times we just don't cover. You guys are great. So we greatly appreciate that. We do have some super chats to get back to, though. So let's take care of some business here, Matt.
Yes. Thank you all for waiting, the super chatters. We appreciate that. And thank you to Red Fish with the $4.99. Says, hey, y'all. Evans may return. Talking about Mike Evans. Now, what about cornerback Dean, wide receiver McMillan, and wide receiver Johnson? Possible return for Worth State. Hope y'all enjoyed the bye week. Yeah, so there were a lot of Bucs out there today, but you have to keep in mind it was a walkthrough. They weren't going, big time or anything. So like Tristan Wirfs was out there. He did have, he had like a sleeve over his knee, essentially.
Yep.
But that's not to say that he's going to, play this week or even next week. Dean, I mean, the fact that he spoke today, like in front of the media, and Larry Foote, who also spoke, was like, hopefully he can progress by the end of the week. It's kind of one of those like wink, wink, nod, nod, worst kept secret type of things. Like it looks like Jamel Dean's ready to go. He actually spoke a lot about how during the bye was when he really got into that football shape. He gave a shout out to his trainer for putting him through all of the circuits, as he said, and running him to death, essentially, were his words, not ours. So it looks like Dean's going to be ready to go. Mike Evans is going to be super important. Johnson's still on injured reserve, so the Bucs will have to open up the window the same way that they did with Jamel Dean. It feels like Jalen McMillan's just going to be like a day-to-day, week-by-week type of basis with that hamstring injury. But Jamel Dean and Mike Evans are the two big ones. If Mike can come back, I mean, just what that will do for the passing game, I think it'll actually like help Cade Otton too, just given that not all the attention will be on him. A lot will be on Mike. But Cade Otton's shown that, he could still take the bulk of the passing game with no wide receiver, so only help a little bit more, with Mike returning.
Yeah. Cansey is going crazy too, by the way. Yeah, a great article on Kalijah Cansey on PewterReport.com. It just dropped out in the chat, as well as the Bucs mailbag. So if you haven't had a chance to read those yet, do so. I dropped them in the chat. 4 sacks in the last 5 games for Kalijah Cansey. So we're starting to see him really kind of come to life. Would be great if Yaya Diaby joins the party. Maybe we'll see. But we'll get back to some of these super chats here.
Yeah, Paul Morales, thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Kind of just briefly talked about it a second ago, but curious to see how Otton does with Mike back.
Yeah, I think it's going to help Cade Otton because he got erased in the second half of that 49ers game. They really clamped down at you, and you got Fred Warner in coverage, right? It's hard to get by him and get yards after the catch, and sometimes even catch the ball. So I think for Otton coming back, that really kind of gives the Buccaneers 2 legit weapons in the passing game. And of course, Mike Evans being one of them, and then Cade Otton, right? So Cade could kind of sneak by when it was Mike and Chris, because, he's an afterthought at that point in time, and really didn't get a lot of targets because of Mike and Chris, right? But he's still going to be featured prominently. So if you have him in your fantasy league or you're doing any of those prop bets, he's still a guy that Baker Mayfield's going to look to in crunch time and also in the red zone. And of course, the concern too, and that maybe the potential peril with Mike Evans coming back is a couple things, right? You can't force the ball to Mike just because he's back. Jameis Winston killed his career by forcing the ball to Mike. He threw Mike a lot of touchdowns. Don't get me wrong, he did, but he also threw a lot of interceptions trying to force the ball to Mike. It was his playmaker, right? And so Baker Mayfield has to really kind of restrain himself. And when Mike is open and the reads dictate the ball goes to Mike, then throw to Mike. But don't force it in there just because you miss Mike and you haven't played with them for a month, and you're anxious to get him the ball. I expect Liam Cohen's going to do some things to script some early targets for Mike Evans, get him back in rhythm. But at the same time, Matt, when you look at Evans, when you're the opposing defensive coordinator, that's the first guy you got to stop. So you're going to see bracket coverage, double coverage, and all that. It might free up K. Dot even more. It might free up Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan, if he ever plays, Trey Palmer, these other receivers, to maybe have some more favorable matchups, because instead of playing an honest defense where you didn't have to double Sterling Shepard or J-Mac or Raheem Jarrett, whatever, now you can go ahead and have that situation where Mike's doubled and now everyone else is kind of singled up.
Yeah, I think you just got to trust Liam Cohen in this situation. Yeah. It's not the first time that he's calling plays for a team where everybody knows who they want to get the ball to, and then they still find a way to get that player the football. But it will be interesting with the other wide receivers, because I still do believe K. Dot can put up the same production with less attention on him, because it's not Mike and Chris, it's just Mike. So I think K. Dot will be totally fine. But let's face it, we knew it was going to be an uphill battle without Mike and Chris. And even with that, I think the other Bucs wide receivers, the wide receiver by committee, if you will, has not even come close to reaching the mild expectations that we had for those receivers, whether it was Sterling Shepard or Trey Palmer or whoever. And yeah, it's been unfortunate that Jalen McMillan hasn't been able to go, but I don't think that excuses what everyone else has been able to do. So maybe Sterling Shepard and Raheem Jarrett and company couldn't do it as wide receivers 1, 2, and 3, but now that Sterling Shepard is wide receiver 2, or however they want to, really play it out when they line up on Sunday, having that guy as a 2 and a 3 versus a 1 and a 2 could be a big time difference. So I hope it is. I'm not confident about it because, they didn't really show it the past couple of weeks, but again, playing lesser opponents should help out a lot too. Yeah, let's get to this $9.99 super chat from Payday 39. Thank you very much. Very cool picture as well with the Bucs Super Bowl ring. Yeah. Said, happy Monday, y'all. Let's get back on track and go on a winning streak. Excited about Mike Edwards as well. Drinking a mango passion fruit Celsius. Hashtag go Bucs. We love to see that. Thank you, Excellent. Payday 39.
Okay. Can't go wrong with that. And again, the Buccaneers, and you have to hope, and we'll talk about this, the topic for tomorrow's Pewter Report Roundtable on pewterreport.com for all of the Pewter Reporters to chime in on is, what's the trap game? We know the Chargers game out in LA. They're 7-3 right now. They just came off beating the Bengals last night. They're a really good team. The Bucs are not going to be favored in that, but Tampa Bay will be favored in all of these other games, I suspect. But what's the trap game? What's the other game outside of that Chargers where the Buccaneers might be in more peril? That's going to be the topic for tomorrow's Pewter Report Roundtable. And, we'll see. But when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, they have 6 games left. The Buccaneers, to be in the best position possible, need to win out, or at least go 6-1. And Matt, the Falcons have, out of those 6 games, after the bye week, they've got 3 really good teams. They have to face the Chargers as well. They have a game against the Minnesota Vikings. as well as a game against the Commanders. So we have seen the Falcons look awfully mortal against other teams, but immortal against the Buccaneers. So the good news is the Bucs don't play the Falcons maybe before the playoffs, But Kirk Cousins looks like a god against Tampa Bay, but against other teams, he just doesn't. It's crazy. The lack of production that he has against the non-Todd Bowles defense, which is kind of frightening, because you do wonder, like, we've seen Patrick Mahomes and Kirk Cousins and Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy carve up this defense. God, it would be a gut punch if the likes of Tommy DeVito and Bryce Young continue to carve up this Todd Bowles defense after the bye week in these next 2 games on the road for Tampa Bay.
And the Falcons didn't just lose on Sunday to the
Broncos.
I watched that game. That was a whomping. They got absolutely destroyed. They lost 38-6, and it's crazy how different they look when they're not playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, hats off to Sean Payton. He swept the NFC South this year with the Denver Broncos. He beat all 4 teams. And so it's crazy looking at the standings. I mean, the Bucs are 1 game away in the loss column at the moment. They can make it a 1 full game if they win against the Giants, as you mentioned before, with the Falcons on a bye. So essentially, they have to, if the Falcons, pretty much the Bucs just have to get into a situation where they are tied with Atlanta going into that December 29th game where the Falcons take on the Washington Commanders. And that's got to be the moment where the Bucs strike and they get a win, and hopefully the Commanders can overcome the Falcons. And that's a home game for Washington, which certainly helps, because I don't know, call me crazy, but at this point, even though I was done with talking about the division about a week ago,
Falcons going to Falcon, Matt.
The Falcons are going to Falcon. I think the Bucs' best chance to get to the postseason in any capacity
they might need
is now by winning the division. Is now by winning the division versus getting in through the wild card. Based on the Commanders, based on the Vikings and the Packers, that seems much, much tougher than the Falcons imploding.
No, you're exactly right. Bailey Adams has a playoff update article. I'll also drop that in the chat as well. And cutting right to the chase, as it stands right now, with the Bucs coming off the bye week, your 7 playoff teams are as follows, as it stands through week 11. Lions, number 1 seed, 9-1. Eagles, 8-2, have the 2nd seed. Cardinals right now, 6-4, lead the West. They're the number 3 seed. The Falcons are the number 4 seed as the NFC South leader at 6-5. Then your next 3 wild card spots, and this is really to back up your point, Matt, right here. This is the wild card race right now. The Vikings at 8-2 would be the 5th seed overall. The Packers at 7-3 would be the 6th seed, and then the Commanders at 7-4 would be the final seed, which is number 7. And they would have the 3rd wild card spot. So think about this: the Buccaneers have the tiebreaker advantage with the Commanders, but the Commanders have 3 more wins right now than the Buccaneers. Right? The Falcons only have 2 more wins than the Buccaneers. So it might be easier and faster and better to catch the Falcons in this division, and they'll need some help. Atlanta has to finish at least a game behind Tampa Bay. They can't finish tied.
Right.
They have to finish a game behind. So if the Falcons get to 11 wins, Bucs have to get, I should say, if the Falcons get to 11 wins, they're done. Tampa Bay is. But if the Falcons get 10 wins, Bucs have to have 11. If the Falcons get 9 wins, the Bucs have to have 10. Falcons finish with 8 wins, 9 wins, once again, will win the division for Tampa Bay. So that's the thing. But the Bucs right now, they're 11th in the playoff hunt. The Rams are number 8 on the outside looking in at 5-4. The Seahawks are next at 5-5 with the 9th spot. 2 spots outside of the playoffs. The 49ers are ahead of the Buccaneers, and they have the tiebreaker head-to-head, and they're 5-5. So a lot of work to be done still for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not very good in math. I'm old, as AJ Constance points out. SR, does it make you feel old that I'm a senior at OSU and was born the same day as Super Bowl 37? Yes, that makes me feel old. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm almost 22 years old. Yeah. Love you, SR and Maddie Diamonds. We love you too, AJ. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, AJ. Actually, I had AJ ready to go.
Let's do it.
Just giving a couple of shout outs to the people during roll call today. And thanks everyone for your support. AJ Constance watching from Columbus, Ohio. Go Ohio State Bucs, parentheses, I'm a student. And go Bucs, Tampa Bay Bucs. So double buck action.
Will Howard out there throwing the ball.
AJ. Yeah. Joseph Hood, watching from Fort Carson, Colorado, U.S. Army and lifelong Bucs fan. Thank you for your service, Joseph.
Thank you for your
appreciate
service,
that.
yes.
And thanks for watching the Pewter Report podcast. Swift Wolf over in Maryland, Zachary Swan, Toledo, Ohio. Some international, Ben Wilson, Brisbane, Australia. This one I thought was very cool. I don't know if we've seen this yet on the Pewter Report podcast. Mr. Wright won Juneau, Alaska.
Yeah.
Not sure if we've had that one just yet.
Yep,
and last but certainly not least, Buck fan 1976, SR's Hood, Wesley Chapel.
Cool.
So, yeah, thanks everybody for your support. We love doing roll call on Mondays, and you guys are great as always.
No doubt about it. And we appreciate all of the participation. And we also appreciate all of our Pewter Platinum members as well. And we want to appreciate and recognize Scott Federico, Rathel Gordon, Noah Parr, Scotty J, Dave Anderson, Eric McMillan, and Zach Jarvis. Thank you so much for all of your support, as well as our Pewter Premier channel members with the Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate everybody who has become a member. Put up a new Pewter Pulse. Actually had 2 last week. We'll have 2 this week as well as one coming out tomorrow. It's going to be a fun ride. I think the Buccaneers are going to end their winning streak, hopefully against the Giants.
Hope so.
I can see this team going on a run. It's going to be a race to see if they can catch the Falcons, or if some of these other teams implode. Maybe Tampa Bay sneaks in as a wild card, but they're going to win more games down the stretch than they're going to lose. I feel like it's got to be maybe like 1 loss. I don't know if they can withstand 2 and still get in, but it's going to be fun. Don't go anywhere. And the Falcons have made it even more fun by losing these last 2 games. So we appreciate all of those Pewter Premier channel members.
It's funny, right? Like the Bucs don't control their own destiny. Like if a lot of these teams get to 11 wins, the Falcons get to 11 wins, there's nothing the Bucs can do about it. But also in a weird sense, the Bucs do control their own destiny, because if they keep winning and they win out, the odds are they're going to make the postseason, because they'd have 11 wins. Or if they go 6-1, you still get 10 wins. A lot of the time that'll get you in. Not guaranteed, but a lot of the times it'll get you in. So they don't control their own destiny. However, if they take care of their own business, they could see themselves making the postseason, which would be for the 5th year in a row, which would be very cool. Another thing that's very cool is Shaggy has been a Pewter Report YouTube channel member for 3 months now. Thank you so much, Shaggy, for all of your support. Who says, getting healthy at the right time. Mike needs 95 yards per game to get 1,000, assuming he plays every game. Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but I said this last week and I'll say it again. Mike needs that one crazy statistical game, which he typically gets per season. If he can get
usually against the Panthers.
Yes, he does do it a lot against the Panthers. That's a great point. If he can do that against the Panthers or another team, maybe have a crazy game where he gets like 200 yards or 175 and knock that average down from 95 to like even 75, I think is a little bit more attainable. If he can do that, it's possible. But yes, it's going to be very difficult.
It's going to be very difficult. Mike has had several years where he's got like 1,001 yard, 1,003 yards, those kind of things. That's all he needs is get 665 more yards to reach that. And his career average is 78 yards. So he's got to go well above his career average of 78 yards per game to get the 95 yards per game necessary to get that 1,000-yard season for an 11th straight year. But we're holding out hope that he's going to get that done. And as we mentioned about these Pewter Report TV channel members, you can show your support for Pewter Report by becoming a Pewter Report TV channel member. We've got 4 different levels. Pewter People gives you access to those loyalty badges and custom emojis. The Pewter Pro members give you access to our videos early, whether it's an all 22 breakdown, whether it's my Pewter Pulse videos, whether it's videos that Matt puts up with regards to Pewter picks and props. So you can check those out a little bit early before the general public does. The Pewter Premier members get exclusive Q&A videos with Matt. It's just you guys and us. And we're talking about different topics on Fridays. We call them the Pewter Insider episodes, 1:30 on Fridays. And then the Pewter Platinum members also get that access, as well as some free PR merch. And we have that going out to our longtime Pewter Report TV channel members, the Platinum members, in later this week, I believe. And then also a 2 times annual Platinum member meetup in Tampa We're going to have one of those at the end of the season and then another one at the start of training camp next year. So great ways you can show your support for Pewter Report. And if you have a business that wants to get some exposure, we can help you score new business for your business with new customers. Just advertise with us on the Pewter Report podcast. We have, I want to say we're doing about 150,000 to 200,000 listens, views, and downloads a month between all of our podcasts. So it's a great way for you to get your business in front of a growing audience of active-minded Bucs fans. And you can also advertise with us on social media. We have over 100,000 combined social media followers on X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as pewterreport.com, where we have millions of viewers and readers every single year. Email me if you're interested at sr@pewterreport.com, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you.
I like this comment from Hezo813. It said, Mike needs that Jamar Chase game against the Ravens to have a shot at 1K. He might just. And we spent a lot of time on Mike Evans, rightfully so. He's the best offensive player in history. But I also think it's just as important that Jamel Dean is coming back and starting at corner, because Zion's done a really good job, but it's been tough sledding with Tyreek Funderburk and then Josh Hayes starting at the right side. I can't help but think, but that 49ers game, if Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean were out there for that last drive against San Fran, that game likely gets into overtime. And by the law of averages, the Bucs would have to win a damn coin toss in overtime at that point and get the football to start overtime. And who knows? Maybe Jamel Dean in there for some of the other games may have changed the outcome a little bit. Now, Dean doesn't always get a ton of interceptions, but just having your two starting corners back, I think will help maybe with the pass rush a little bit. If the quarterback has to hold on to the ball for another second, just Jamel Dean knowing what he needs to do, being back with Mike Edwards now. They talked a lot about the band getting back together. So, I don't know. The help is on the way, and hopefully it leads to more wins for the Bucs.
Well, and this is kind of a spot-on comment here from
Juju on them beats.
There you go. Appreciate it. Thank you, Matt. Do you think that the corners play way too dang far off? The answer is yes. I speak for Matt when we say that. Yeah, they give up way too much cushion. I think we bring in Robert Saleh and a defensive coordinator and Belichick as head coach. That would be interesting. I think we put Whitehead back in the box, switch to a cover 2 style defense. I don't know about a cover 2 because that's really not a base defense anymore. There's just too many 2-beaters out there. Robert Saleh plays a lot of quarters coverage. It's more of a cover 4 concept, and we'll see. We've addressed some of the conversation about Todd Bowles' future. I did an SR's Fab 5 on Liam Cohen's future because they get inundated with questions here on the podcast, which is fine. We're here to answer them. We're here for you guys to have the discussions, but understanding that Todd Bowles very well may keep his job if they win enough games, get back to the playoffs, and have some success, right? But it's out there, the Belichick stuff, the Robert Saleh stuff, the Liam Cohen questions, and we've addressed it on Pewter Pulse videos, this podcast, my SR's Fab 5. So we'll wait and see. It's a little premature to start really making down some of those final, definitive answers on this, that, or the other thing. But one thing I do know that I am pretty definitive about is walk-ons is a fantastic place to go for happy hour. It's the place to go really in Tampa, in the Tampa Bay area for happy hour. And this guy might look familiar. Matter of fact, Mike Edwards might recognize this guy. He played for the New Orleans Saints and now is putting money in Pewter Report's pockets with these advertisements, which we really like. Thanks, Drew.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different. And it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block. Hand peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp. Hand carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys. And hand slicing, then tossing our boneless wings and our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day. The Walk-Ons way.
That's right. Drew Brees' last NFL pass picked off by new Buccaneer Mike Edwards in New Orleans in that 2020 divisional playoff game, which was a Tampa Bay win and a Saints loss in New Orleans. But enough about history. Let's talk about the present day. Get your butt to happy hour at Walk-Ons. If you have not tried Walk-Ons, Pewter people, make this week the week. Pick a day and just say, I'm going to try Walk-Ons. I'm going to do what Matt does. I'm going to get out there to the Midtown Tampa location by the stadium and enjoy this beautiful weather and have some happy hour drinks and starters. or I'm going to go up to where SR stomps around, his stomping grounds up in Wesley Chapel. Or if you live in the Lakeland area, they've got one out there too. Make sure you go to walkons.com for those addresses and the menu. But I can tell you that Walk-On's happy hour from 3 p.m. to close on Mondays is as good as it gets. They've got Monday Night Football, so make sure you watch your Monday Night Football there. Tuesdays, all-day happy hour, including $5 Tito's. Wednesday and Thursday, you have 2 sets of happy hours, 3 p.m. to 6, plus 9 p.m. to close. So if you're going to watch Thursday Night Football, guess where? Do it at Walk-On's. And Friday from 3 to 6. And keep in mind, too, they have game day specials on Saturdays and Sundays, $4.49 pints and 22-ounce pours for $5.99. Michelob Ultra, Bud Light, and Budweiser. Heineken Silver 12-ounce cans for $5 and $5 neutral assorted flavors. So make sure you check out Walk-Ons for football, food, and fun this week, whether it's Monday night, Thursday night, or next weekend. Give Walk-Ons a try. You're not going to be disappointed.
I'm in the mood for Walk-On's wings. I was there recently. I didn't get the wings, but that's because their menu is great and there's so many different options.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That Walk-On's ad got me in the mood for wings for sure. And Mike Edwards had an interception off of Drew Brees in that postseason, the year that the Bucs won the Super Bowl. So, nobody's going to be happier than Mike Evans walking to Walk-Ons being like, hey, I intercepted that guy. Even though there's not a lot of Drew Brees stuff at the Tampa Walk-Ons. It's all Bucs-centric for sure.
Absolutely. No doubt. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Wednesday when the Buccaneers really take the field for more than the walk-on that they had today. We'll find out more about the availability of Mike Evans, about Jamel Dean, although it certainly sounded like at the press conference today, he was giving himself the green light. He wants to get back out there.
Yeah.
But Jalen McMillan, right? That's another injury to watch there. You would think that the week off, that knee injury that Tyke Smith suffered, where he really banged knee. So the good news is it's not like an MCL or any type of ligament thing. It's probably just a swelling type of issue there. And we'll get an update on Tristan Wirfs too. He's going to miss this game for sure, and it'll be interesting to see because the Giants, as we talked about, and we'll get more into the Giants discussion on Wednesday's show at 4:00 when we have our Giants preview, and that's going to be right here on Pewter Report TV. Also streams live on our Facebook and X channels at Pewter Report. So if you want to catch us on those platforms as well, you can, 4 p.m. live. But one of the interesting things, Matt, is Justin Skule will be manning the left tackle position. And while we talked about the fact that the Giants don't get a lot of interceptions, matter of fact, they only have one. Well, the one thing they do well is they do get after the quarterback. Defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has 9 sacks on the year. Brian Burns, former Carolina Panther, has 6 sacks in addition to Azeez Ojulari. He also has 6. So their defensive front does a pretty good job of getting after the quarterback. So you've got a couple of speed rushers there in Brian Burns and Azeez Ojulari that are going to be giving Justin Skule some fits. He understandably gave up a sack to Nick Bosa. I mean, that's no shame in that. Bosa's a hell of a pass rusher, right? But we'll talk more about that on Wednesday, but just an interesting observation there. And we'll see when Tristan Wirfs is able to come back.
Yeah, and thankfully, Skule's he's done a solid job, like coming in for Luke Gedeke after, the Lions game when everybody wanted his head on a spike, and then he turned it around. But at least he already has that in-game experience. And I think for Liam Cohen, he learned a lot about what he can do and what he can't do, having Justin Skule in the game. And I think even when Skule came in against the 49ers, and the offense had been struggling like up until that point anyway, he found creative ways to move the ball where it didn't put Skule at too much of a disadvantage, whether it was, running it the other way, getting quick throws, giving him some help, some chip blocks, and things of that nature. The Giants pass rush cannot be taken lightly. And that's with Kayvon Thibodeau, who's been out for the whole year as well. He's a very talented edge rusher for them, played at Oregon. So Bucky Irving's likely familiar with them. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday's show. However, I trust Liam Cohen to put Skule in situations where they're not going to ask him to do too much. He's going to have to just do his job, and the Bucs will live with the results.
That's right. One final thing to get you out here on this, not Victory Monday, but it's a better Monday than last Monday was, because the Bucs didn't lose on Sunday, and they got some help from the Falcons losing. But when you're talking about trust, there's one place I go when it comes to financial advice that I trust, and that's our friends over at Immuni Financial.
At Muni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Dude,
congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Muni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Matt, the Falcons didn't like going to Colorado, did they? 38-6. They hated it. But maybe you can get your butt to Colorado if you want to retire and, quit your job. But you can only do that if you save up enough money. That's where the folks at Immuni come in, because they're going to work together with you to ensure that you're completely satisfied. Managing your family's wealth means more to Immuni Financial than simply allocating your assets. It means legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, and retirement accounts, college savings accounts, and insurance services. With over 40 years of experience, let Immuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. Whether you're in the Tampa Bay area, across the state of Florida, or across the country, call Immuni Financial at 1-800-868-6864. Tell them that Pewter Report sent you, or you can visit them on the web at immuni.com.
Yeah, make sure you check them out. And then, of course, make sure you follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. We got tons of content coming out. Pewter picks and props, various videos from the Bucs practice facility. Scott's always got some Pewter Pulses dialed up and ready to go on our YouTube channel. And, of course, we got the podcast, the game day show, the live stream, all that fun stuff. So please like, subscribe, leave a comment below, as well as AJ's having the time of his life, saying he's currently in a Zoom class, not paying attention because he's listening to Pewter Report.
Yeah.
Nothing better. School's for fools. No.
Just keep nodding your head, AJ. Pretend that you're listening. So that's great. And then one more final comment here. Mia says, everybody support Ashton Genty for the Heisman. Yeah, that's the Boise State running back who was just tearing it up. I love me a good
Dirk
running
Cutter.
back. Yeah, Dirk Cutter. Exactly. Dirk Cutter. If you did not know, Dirk Cutter is the offensive coordinator for the Boise State Broncos. So congrats to Dirk out there doing a good job in his home state of Idaho.
Yep.
And it's exciting to see him still have some success and a hand in football. Dirk's a good guy. Didn't always work out, here the way that he wanted it, but had some good memorable moments as well. There were some good times. Not enough, but
the Fitz days, the Fitzpatrick days. Probably,
yes, the Fitzmagic days were really fun for sure. And we'll see. Shaggy says, hit that like button. Yeah, when you do that, folks, when you give us the thumbs up button, whether it's on any of our videos, the podcast, the Pewter Game Days, the Pewter Pulses, the Pewter pregame shows, Matt's Pewter picks and props, Josh's all 22 Bucs breakdowns, any of those videos, give us likes, a thumbs up, as well as comments. Doing that boosts those videos, and the YouTube algorithm gets us in front of more awesome Pewter people like you guys, gets those views up, gets our subscribers up. Everybody wins, and we keep delivering more great content for you guys.
That's all right. So that'll do it for us on today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.